Hello everybody, my name is Albrecht. I'm co-chair of this year's virtual fPET2020 conference. And I'm really looking forward to our meeting in November online and to the continuation of these conversations on philosophy, engineering and technology that we always have at fPET and that I always enjoy very much. However, of course, this year is different from any other year. And we have to find out how to proceed under these very special circumstances. Andres, who has a leading role in organizing the conference as a chair, he has recorded another video where he explains the general outlines of the conference, where he introduces the keynote speakers, where he says something about the schedule and how we try to circumvent the problem of time differences. When I say something about registration there, we are very open in order to get all co-authors involved. And he also presents the conference management system that we use. And this system is not only meant to support video conferencing and the streaming of pre-recorded content, but it also offers many other possibilities for people to interact with each other, to exchange information, to have chats, and in other ways become a community. And for me, this is really the key issue that will decide on the success of this meeting that we are going to have. I'm sure that most of you will right now already have a lot of experience with virtual conferences. So you know basically how the technology works, you have a certain idea how to present yourselves online, and hopefully you've also found this most comfortable position from which you can watch the videos, maybe at home with a cup of coffee, and the children and the pets safely stored away in another room so that they don't disturb you. And all this is very nice and helps you to make the best out of the situation, but still the virtual conference is never as good as a real conference, which is no surprise because we approach a virtual conference as a real conference that for some reason is held online. So we expect to do the same that we do when we meet in person, just with a camera and a screen and lots of cable and Wi-Fi in between. And that of course cannot be successful. However, I think there are many opportunities how we can actually use digital technology that allows us to communicate with each other from home, from so many different places. How we can use this technology to get a benefit from a virtual meeting that a real conference cannot offer. And this is a bit the direction in which I want to go, and where I really want to encourage you with this video to be open to it and to really spend some effort on exploring this potential and making the best of it. fPET itself has a long tradition now. It goes back to a conference that was held in 2007, I guess, at Delft. And the chair of this conference, if I remember correctly, that was Ivo van de Peul, who is now our keynote speaker at this year's fPET. And the organizers of the conference, the initiators of this tradition that has now assumed the name fPET, they had a clear idea in mind. They wanted to bring together people across disciplinary boundaries, in particular, of course, philosophers and engineers. And the reasons for that are quite obvious. If you as a philosopher discuss engineering and discuss decisions of engineers or larger behaviors in engineering, then of course it is quite helpful to actually know some engineers, not only from their publications, but as persons, in order to get a better impressions of how they really think, what their personal background is, how they approach problems, and so on and so on. And for engineers, on the other hand, who are confronted with ethical decisions every day and who are often very interested in larger philosophical questions, the exchange with philosophers who have actually read through these large libraries of philosophical publications of the last 3,000 centuries, yeah, to converse with them is something that really for an engineer can also be very enlightening and give guidance to their own decision making or their own concepts about how to approach problems. And this already shows you that fPET was never just about giving a presentation and listening to presentations. It was always about building a community and reaching out to meet new people and get involved with them. And this is something that we really want to continue with this virtual conference in new ways. And one of the ways how this can be done is by taking benefit from the fact that we actually get insight into the situation where you live, from where you do your presentation. Here, for example, you see my living situation, which I enjoy very much. It's a rather artsy environment, and that actually will be a clue for one of the things that I have to say at this conference. I'll give a presentation that looks very much into the possibility of art to add something to philosophy of technology. It has nothing to do with music, but in a certain way, by this here I can establish a background from which it will be easier to understand why I argue, how I argue. And maybe, I hope, you will be open enough to show us something of your background that will also help us understand where you come from. And that, of course, does not only involve this private environment, but it can also involve your lab, the factory in which you work, the city that is addressed in your research. You know how different cities can look like depending on the country you live in. Some cities are built for cars, others are built for pedestrians, and now already are transformed to be more accessible for cyclists. And there's a difference between different cultures. There's a difference between developing countries and industrial countries. And all these things can play a much more important role in a virtual conference when you are actually able to join in from home, and they can give your argument from location. And this is something that I would encourage you to do, and I'll record another video to give you some ideas of how this could be done or what the benefits can be from all this. And that's not all. There are other things that should happen. One, of course, is directly related to this conference management system. You can give some information about yourself there. You can define a profile. You can establish meetings with each other in chat rooms, and you can exchange additional information, not only what you give in this presentation. And all this is something that I also hope many people will use to come together. I'm sure that every presenter will be very, very glad if someone else writes a short message online about the presentation, or just for some other reason approaches the other persons. And then there's, last but not least, one specific session that I want to have at this conference. And this session, it will happen very much at the beginning of the conference, is supposed to encourage networking, but already with a clear objective in mind, and that is how can we actually enrich each other's work. And for this we will cover different kinds of things. First of all, I'll hope that we'll have a few people who just introduce themselves and their institutions and the kind of research that is done there. Also explain what the big problems are in their countries that need to be addressed. Maybe show the kind of data they can provide, especially from the engineering side. Engineers who look for philosophers that somehow want to join them in solving a problem, for example. So that we can see how the collaboration with people from other countries can actually add something to our own work and make it more significant and open up new directions in which we can apply our extant theories and models and so on. And what we also want to do at that meeting is to really look at the kind of funding schemes that are around for international collaboration, and maybe take the first steps into drafting possible proposals together for funded research where people from different countries or continents are involved. I think that there are many opportunities, especially now when in a situation where the digital transformation attracts a lot of money for research, and philosophical questions become increasingly important in these calls that are out there about digital technology and its impact on society and so on. So there are lots of opportunities, and most of you will have some information about that, and I hope that in this session we can also share this information and then really work systematically on drafting possibilities for common projects. So in this way, I hope that the conference will enable us to establish new ways how fPET as a community can grow, and how we make the best out of this situation where we only meet online. So please, people, do not consider this as a restriction, but rather as an opportunity to find new ways how to collaborate with each other. And if we are able to do this, then we really have a great meeting ahead of us.